Hello, and thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. My name is Kara, and I'm a holistic health practitioner for both people and pets. After working for years in the conventional medicine field, I realized that while our lifespans may be getting longer, our health spans are rapidly shrinking. And when it comes to our pets, both their length and quality of life are decreasing. When I turned to functional medicine and a more holistic approach to health, I saw dramatic improvements for my pets, myself, and my patients. Join me each week as I merge natural health for people and pets by focusing on the root cause of disease and applying raw, real remedies that you can use to improve overall wellness for every member of your family, including the furry ones. Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of Raw Remedies podcast. I am over the moon excited for this week's episode. I have been eagerly awaiting and eagerly anticipating this for a really long time. This week, my guest is Angela Ardolino, a certified cannabis and fungi clinician who brings over 20 years of experience to the field of holistic pet wellness. As a graduate of the inaugural Medical Cannabis for Therapeutic Use program at the University of Vermont School of Medicine, she is a passionate advocate for safe, natural, and ethically grown whole plant and fungi medicine tailored for pets. Angela is the founder and formulator behind CBD Dog Health and MycoDog, two pioneering brands that prioritize pet health through carefully crafted full-spectrum hemp extracts CBD for dogs, cats, and horses, as well as wild-harvested, dual-extracted mushrooms and adaptogens. Committed to the highest standards, Angela continues to educate and inspire pet parents through her popular podcast, Your Natural Dog, where she hosts experts to discuss holistic pet care, natural remedies, nutrition, and training. I was honored to be a guest on Your Natural Dog podcast. It is one of my favorites, so I definitely recommend you guys tune in and listen to her podcast as well. But for now, keep listening and let's get to this week's episode. All right, and we are back with Angela Ardolino. Angie is probably one of my favorite humans, not only just in the holistic pet space, but just in the space. So thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to have our discussion today because you're going to tell us all about your new study and it's going to be mind-blowing.
I'm so happy to be on your podcast finally.
I know, I feel like it's been too long. Actually, I don't even know how it's taken this long. I've been doing this podcast now for almost 8 months, and I feel like you're the first person I told about when I said, I'm starting a podcast, you have to come on. That was forever ago.
I know. Been busy. You know how it goes. But yeah, I'm very proud because I've done my very first piece of clinical research, which never in a million years did I think I'd get around to doing this early in the stage, but of my career, especially with medicinal mushrooms, I thought for sure it would be full spectrum hemp. But I think that why it was so important for me to do it with mushrooms is because unlike hemp, we have a little bit of regulation, you know, we have a little bit of understanding on how to make medicine out of it, and a little bit more time researching it and knowing how to extract and manufacture it. Mushrooms, it's literally the whole conversation has been controlled by two entities and totally take us off track. And, you know, people, it's amazing. I will be at mushroom conferences and people aren't asking like just important questions like, I learned about plant biology and the endocannabinoid system. So I came from like out of the world. Like, no, I wasn't in a cannabis community or a mushroom community. I was a person who took an extract. It totally healed me and got rid of all my pain. And I threw myself into learning everything about it. And then got invited to go to the University of Vermont School of Medicine to learn all about it. So because I learned that way, everything matters. How it's grown, the substrate that it's grown on, how it's supposed to be grown in nature, meaning not just what it's growing on, but the time that it gets harvested. You know, when that mushroom pops its head up, there's a certain amount of days that you want to leave it there before you harvest it so that it gets all the bioactives. Nobody's even considering this. So to me, I felt like a pioneer when it came to hemp, but for mushrooms, I really felt like, all right, things have been done a certain way for a really long time. They're not the best way. And I always find myself that I got here because I kept asking questions.
Right. You
And
kept
where it
asking
started
why.
with, right,
Yeah.
yeah, why? Why? And it started with Nina, my Doberman that got osteosarcoma.
This is Nina,
Yes,
right?
that's Nina. Yep, those are her favorite treats because I ended up making a treat because of A, she loved to eat. She was always a skinny Doberman and always ate and had a super high metabolism. And when she got osteosarcoma, the things that I could buy that were treats went down to zoop because of how many other ingredients
Yep.
are in
All
our
the
pets'
fillers,
products.
the binders, the flavorings, all the crap. The crap, it's all just crap.
I just learned a little bit more about microcrystalline cellulose today because I'm
Yeah.
following these human doctors who are talking about what damage it does to humans. But microcrystalline cellulose's biggest use, which is an additive in mushrooms, is so that this little capsule looks completely filled. God forbid they were to be half. So if you ever get a capsule and you look at it, it's half full, good for that company for not adding a filler or shit in it to make it look like you're getting more. The other thing I learned is when I started giving this to Nina because I had all the research showing me turkey tail, lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi were
Right.
amazing. But then when I looked at the research to see what the therapeutic doses to achieve these anti-cancer remedies, I would have to put 6 of these in her food. So now I'm giving her half of its sawdust and half of its a mushroom
You
extract.
turned
And I
her
just was
dinner
like,
into mud.
and so when I'm like screaming and yelling about the inactive ingredients and the other ingredients or whatever, I'm not judging. That was how long ago? 4 or 5 years ago. I was
Yeah.
still giving my dog a supplement that I thought was completely natural and didn't have any crap in it. And it did.
Yeah.
It did have crap in it. So if I sound angry and I'm always bitching and they're like, is she ever going to shut up about it? I'm not, because these are the things that keep our dogs from getting back to homeostasis or being able to heal themselves, is these freaking additives that do not belong and just create the body to work overtime and try to figure out what to do with them. I just thought there's got to be a better
A
way.
better way.
So Nina was what got me into how I found Jason, my myco-alchemist, and got with him to make my formulations. And we do something called a spagyric extraction, which is a true ancient practice. It's a whole mushroom extract where we do the hot water, we do the alcohol, and then everything that's left after the extraction, the spent, actually gets purified and put back into the extraction. So I think as far as I know, I don't know any other pet product like this. I only know like 3 human products like this. And it's just how you get all of those beautiful bioactives and keep them stable and happy and not damaged so that when you're animal and you take them, the body recognizes them, the body loves them, and it goes to work.
Yeah.
And after being able to get to true extracts and looking at how incredible they work, it just became one after another, like, okay, which mushrooms help dogs with this? Which mushrooms help with that? Which is how I came up with my chart, because I literally was checking off going, because the research out there is unbelievable how much there is out on our medicinal mud. There is
Yeah.
tons of evidence based research.
It's ancient, the use of mushrooms, and it's it frustrates me when we have to say like, oh, there's no clinical studies, there's no double blind study, double blind placebo studies, right? There's no scientific studies, which in this case there is, but it frustrates me when we say that, because anecdotal evidence is still evidence, right? Just because it wasn't put into a scientific study, which who knows who that was funded by,
Right.
who knows, who's going to look at those results and formulate it and put the abstract in a way that can be very misleading to the person who's consuming that piece of paper. But, when you think about something like this, you're thinking about all these different medicinal mushrooms, functional mushrooms. Animals were self-selecting these we were making things out of these. I almost picture like in ancient China in the foothills, hunched over like a wooden pot, like on a. I shouldn't be saying that.
Heck
Actually,
yeah.
that sounds terrible. But you know what I
No,
mean? Like
heck
just like
yeah.
the thought of the ancient medicine. How is it possible that people don't realize what an amazing powerhouse they have in their hands that they can just literally pick from the dirt? You know, it just drives me nuts.
But, yeah, the other day I went, not the other day, a couple months ago, I went on a foraging expedition with one of our foragers. And when I say one of our foragers, is all of our mushrooms are either wild crafted, meaning they're grown on the substrate they're found in nature, or they're wild foraged sustainably. So we went on a wild forage and literally came home and made a full meal of everything that we foraged.
I'm
And
so jealous.
when you do that and it's yummy and good, and you're
Yeah.
like, this is so backwards than what we're taught and
Yeah.
what we've basically been brainwashed to believe, that no way, you cannot go into the forest and pick things and feed yourself and get vitamins and minerals. And oh yeah, you can. And not only can you do that, but how many times I hear people go, well, they'll either name an isolate like quercetin or a vitamin or a mineral, and I'll be like, yeah, mushrooms have that. Mushrooms have that. Nope, you don't have to feed your dog that. Just chop up some
Yeah.
mushrooms, give them a mushroom extract. It's got plenty. It'll do that. No, no, no.
Yep.
Please stop giving the glutathione by itself. Give it in the mushroom. Give it in its whole form. Just like constantly saying that. Or they're giving one thing because it's high in antioxidants. And I'm like, have you seen chaga? You know, screw blueberries. They got nothing on chaga. So just like constantly, but we don't know about them.
Yeah.
They're not taught. And then when you do learn about them, it's not regulated. So if you do go out there to get a chaga supplement, probably has no chaga in it at all. So
Yeah.
it's something that's really hard, that even after I have now this beautiful piece of research showing how it's helped dogs basically with cognition. What happened is, at my rescue farm, I was looking at, I had mostly senior dogs, and I was looking at cancer and arthritis, the things that are taking our senior dogs.
Yeah.
But the thing is once you do get a senior dog at homeostasis, what's next is, and I just realized this as I was protecting the mind, I was keeping them happy, feeling good. So I got the body and the spirit, or the body and the soul, taken care of. Now I needed to take care of the mind.
Yeah.
So I had this 16-year-old rescue who, you know, we got her mobile again. We got rid of her cancer. She was doing great. And then
That was Daisy, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Daisy is where I learned about CCD. And I had rescued dogs that had already had full-blown CCD and was able to reverse it just with hemp. I mean, not reverse it, but like take a dog that was, prove it, totally not making eye contact, lost, barking in corners, to that. But what happened with Daisy is that she was doing great, and then out of nowhere, she would get up and walk over to her food or water bowl and not do anything, just stand there and then walk back, go lay down, get up, do it like 4 or 5 times in a row. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And it wasn't until my partner Joe said, I think she has Alzheimer's. And I'm like, what makes you say that? You know, he comes out of nowhere with a diagnosis.
Yeah.
And it's because his dad did. And you forget the ability to swallow and chew. You forget how to eat and drink.
Yeah. It's so devastating. Actually, my aunt has very advanced Alzheimer's right now, and I've worked with the patient population for many years, for a decade. I've worked in the hospital, and I've seen people with Alzheimer's, and what usually ends up kind of finally being their demise is they stop eating and drinking. They no longer feel hungry. They no longer have a drive to slake their thirst, right? They literally forget how to sustain their bodies, and they just kind of waste away. And there are things that we do to people that are tragic things. 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds who get permanent feeding tubes because they have advanced dementia and they forgot how to eat, right? Like, I've seen horrible things in the hospital that we can't just kind of let our elders pass away in peace, you know, when it's time, and that's an issue in and of itself. But with our pets, I can't even imagine how devastating it would be to take this rescue dog, or any dog, cat, whatever, get rid of a huge tumor that was plaguing them, fix their arthritis so that they're running and jumping like a puppy, see them interacting and loving life and having joy again at beyond even senior years. That's like ancient dinosaur years, 16, 17 nowadays. And then to see them just backslide because of doggy dementia or CCD, canine cognitive disorder. So I can't even imagine how difficult it was for you to see that happen right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't know. And she was getting up to get water. So her thirst was not gone. Her hunger was not gone. She just didn't know how to do it anymore. And that blew my mind, because that's immediately what I did was, what the hell's happening to humans? What are we doing for humans? So the fact that that lion's mane, Bacopa monnieri, Astragalus root have already been proven to regenerate neurons, regrow our telomeres, which I don't know if people know what telomeres are, but they're basically on our mitochondria, and every time our cells replicate and regenerate, our telomeres get shorter and shorter. They're basically protecting our mitochondria. And as they get shorter and shorter, aging happens. And these adaptogens regrow them. They regenerate neurons. It is, to me, blows my mind that these are plants and mushrooms that do this. I know you've heard me say Mother Nature provides us with all the food and medicine that we need. This is proof. Yep. Literally everything that happens to us as we age, every ailment, everything we could possibly go through, there is a remedy in nature. And it's just a matter of growing it appropriately, extracting it appropriately, putting it in a preservative that doesn't damage it and that isn't damaging to the person who's taking it. It is totally possible. This is what traditional medicine, Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine, this is what they've been doing for centuries. And the problem is that our doctors aren't taught anything about it. They're not taught anything about the endocannabinoid system, because they're taught about how to write prescription medication.
Prescriptions. 100%.
Unfortunately.
10 out of 10 can attest to that. All of my years of schooling, I walked out of there knowing the adverse effect, the pharmacokinetics, and everything about every pharmaceutical under the sun. I had to memorize all of those things, even though I could Google them right at my fingertips, right? I had to memorize all of that stuff, learn how to properly write a prescription. Literally, we had to practice on prescription pads back when I was in school. Never one single time did I hear about the endocannabinoid system, nor did we ever talk about functional mushrooms. And we're going to do another separate, totally awesome podcast about the endocannabinoid system and using full spectrum hemp extract. So if you want to listen to that, make sure you come back for it. But today, one of the things that we're really going to hone in on, that I'm literally on the edge of my seat. We're going to talk about your senior dog study. So I need to know. Give it all to me.
I will. So I saved up my money because research is really expensive. So saved up our money and found a research firm run by a veterinarian of 15, 20 years. I can't remember. He's also been running this for 15, 20 years. Most of his research is done on pharmaceutical drugs. And what's beautiful is, so my education director, Carter, was the lead and control of it. So once we found Dr. Joel, it was handed over to Carter to determine how are we going to track it? What are we going to show? So Dr. Joel helped us get that all in line. So how we tracked everything are by collars that tracked movement, tracking whether, what are their movements and activity during the day, and what about at night when they're sleeping? Are they sleeping?
That's cool. So it's like a little GPS that's constantly attached to them, essentially, so that you can monitor like what this dog with canine cognitive disorder is doing about the house.
Yeah, exactly.
Genius. Okay.
And their activity level, like Are they anxious and stressed out, or are they calm and, having a good time and happy? We also did blood work to, I'm probably going to get this wrong, to track the protein that the inflammation markers and the protein that shows BDNF, which I'm not brain.
Yeah,
Remember what it stands for?
brain-derived
Oh, good.
natriuretic factor. Yeah, BDNF.
That. So what's so funny is that I literally have a cheat sheet so that I can break everything into layman terms. So by a year from now, I'm going to be spitting this shit out like it's my business. But right now, I'm like, okay, let me get all the things, that it does. So we tracked all of that, and of course, unbelievable results. We did it.
Yep.
I think we started with 50, completed with 30 dogs. And what's cool about this is that these dogs were anywhere from, well, first of all, I don't know if everybody knows when a dog becomes a senior, but a large breed dog becomes a senior like at age 6, and a small dog, more like 10. So they were all between those ages. They were all suffering from some sort of canine cognitive dysfunction, whether it was early signs or full blown. But we did finish with 30 dogs that we got all the data from, and just unbelievable. I brought Dr. Joel, who led the research, onto my podcast, and I think he thought I was going to have a black pointy hat on and be like, "Hello, my petit," because he was like,
I love it.
I've been doing this for 15 years, and I have never seen results like this. He told me this, which I can't get out of my mind now, because nobody funds research unless they're trying to prove that their product does something. Nobody doesn't prove that eating a balanced diet works, or taking mushroom and hemp extracts are going to keep you healthy and at homeostasis. So for 15, 20 years that he's been running this research center, he's never had a product work. He told me that what they're looking for most of the time is that the baseline health of the animal doesn't change.
Yeah.
They're never trying to show, yep, this is for this and it works. Here's our proof.
Yeah.
Nope. They're just trying to prove that it's not going to make the animal worse than it is. That it's not that the thing's going to work, which that blew my mind. So not only did he not ever have anything that did what it said it was going to do, he certainly never expected a all natural product to do it. And it's funny because Carter's like, yeah, I could hear him trying to dampen my expectations of, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're hoping to find this. And he was going, no, you're probably not going to show that. That's probably not going to happen. And it's like, no, it is. Yeah. And that's what's incredible, is that he thinks this is shocking, and it's not. This is what should be normal. Yeah. But because nobody's regulating it, nobody's making sure things are pure and potent, that's why this isn't normal. Right. There's no money in it. There's no money, and it costs money to prove it. So it's people don't realize that the time and energy that it goes through to make a pure product that is at a therapeutic dose that actually works. And that's what's beautiful, is that if they do try it, it will work. If you follow it, you're giving it the dose, it will work. Because it's made right. It's grown right.
You can tell the difference when you're doing it right. You see the effect that it exerts on the body, and you see improvement in the area that you're targeting, right? And it's why I just think it's so crazy if you, God forbid, say a phrase like food is medicine, or nature is medicine, herbs are medicine. These governing bodies are going to come and cut your tongue right out of your mouth. You can't say that. You can't prove that. Well, maybe we can. But so, okay, I would love to hear about the technicalities of the study. So I'm assuming you used and I have, most people I think are listening, but for those who are actually watching, so I have a bottle of Clarity. I'm assuming that's what you guys were using?
Yep.
Okay. So I would love to hear,
Clarity,
how that worked.
Yeah, so Clarity has extracts of reishi, cordyceps, and lion's mane, and also an adaptogen called Bacopa monnieri and ashwagandha. So Bacopa monnieri and lion's mane have already proven in research to regrow the telomeres, regenerate neurons, balance, brain chemicals like serotonin and dopamine and GABA. It's which all of that affects their focus, their sleep, their mood, their pain,
Yep.
all of that. Um, so the other piece of research that happened that I loved was it was a piece of research that showed that reishi by itself does all these wonderful things. Reishi combined with lion's mane and cordyceps and other adaptogens does all of this even better. So that's
Yes.
what I did is I'm like, okay, I've got this individual on these individual adaptogens. Like Bacopa's has so much research on brain activity, both on mice and rat models, and it's already being used as ADHD drugs now, being prescribed to people. But it is an amazing adaptogen. So
Yeah.
being able to just put them together, and then I know they're going to work because I know how to make them and grow them and preserve them.
Yeah.
So just being able to do that, learn, put it into practice, even use it on myself and be able to feel the benefits of it, which I know you've heard me say this before, but I can tell something's going on in my brain. My favorite story is where, of a word, a big word, and you never use that word because you're afraid you're going to mispronounce it or use it in the wrong context. And those words are now just coming out of my mouth. And I'm like, what did I
Yes.
say? I have never used that word in my life. And now it's just coming out in a sentence. There's something going on in there. So I've experienced it myself, definitely felt it. But it's really fun to not only bottle it, and Clarity's been out for 2 years. I
Yeah.
want people to realize my mushroom extracts I made for my own dogs. So they were like made, formulated, and I was using them like years before I ever put it out on the market. Biggest reason is because of how they're grown, foraged, or wildly cultivated. And then our extraction methods, we take out the alcohol after the alcohol extraction because we don't believe in our dogs getting alcohol. So it's all very complicated. But now to have thousands and thousands of pet parents, come on and talk about the benefits, because you don't really notice it. You don't really notice the increase of having to go outside to take a pee, or the waking up in the middle of the night with a hacking attack, or do I have to go get some water, or do I not need to get some water? And this is what most people with old dogs are going through. It's not until you give them something and go, oh, they slept through the whole night.
Yeah.
That means I slept through the whole night, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just, that's beautiful. So now I have the piece of research that proves it and shows it. And I just sit there and listen to the stories. Of course, we're going to share all the pet parents' testimonials of what they witnessed and how things changed. But everything
Yeah.
sounds exactly the same, Kara. It is slept through the night, no
Yeah.
more hacking, no more missing the pee pad or peeing in the wrong place or getting
Yeah.
lost or any of those weird little things that you were just like, oh, he's getting old, he's getting old. Well, that keeps getting worse and worse, along with all the other ailments that happen if you're not supporting that dog. And people give up. And that's how I ended up with a senior dog rescue, just because it seems like too much, and it kind of is. Because if you go to that vet, they don't have anything for you. They're going to be prescribing a pain medication, 2 or 3, an
Yeah.
antibiotic because they don't quite know what's going on, and probably a
Gabapentin,
steroid.
trazodone. Yeah. Yeah.
And then they come back and it's not better, so they add another one on. And
Yeah.
basically what that is a prescription to slowly kill your dog faster. And that same thing happens in human medicine. I look at animals and they're on 6 to 10 different types of medications by the time they got to my rescue. And then humans, same thing. I remember Joe's dad, he was on like 15, 20 different medications.
Oh yeah. And
It's
none of them
ridiculous.
work. We have like Namenda and Aricept, right? So those are like 2 of the approved pharmaceuticals for Alzheimer's dementia. They don't do anything. and they're also not even supposed to be given for long-term use, right? Any studies that have been done show that it
Well, there's the
might
proof right there.
help. Right. It doesn't help reverse, doesn't make anything better, right? It doesn't regenerate those neurons. It doesn't rewrap those myelin sheaths. It doesn't help repair your telomeres. All it does is maybe slow down progression, maybe for 6 months. But what do? We're like, oh, you have dementia. You are going to take this for the rest of your life. And that could be anywhere from, months to years to honestly a decade with dementia. And these were never meant to be lifelong medications, right? And it's really, I think the research there it's stalled for a really long time for people, but now finally we have had some breakthroughs, and we're seeing, I don't know if you've seen any of this, but they're starting to call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because of the connection with inflammation, mitochondrial health, and high carbohydrate, high inflammatory diets in your gut. It's so delicately linked.
Everything that we put in and on our body has an effect. And if you're using something that's natural and the way nature intended, there is not that side effect that causes danger. But the pharmaceutical, what it's doing is just taking one compound out of whatever worked in nature. Yeah, one day I think I'm going to have so much time on my hands that I can be like, okay, let me see what that drug was based off of, and then find the natural whatever it is. It's my favorite thing to do. What I do now is just find the thing in nature that's going to be that remedy. But yeah, that's all that's happening. When you start going, what? Most of the antibiotics on the markets come from compounds in mushrooms? So what if I just take mushroom extracts instead? And I'm literally being preventative. I'm literally teaching my body how to recognize a bad bacteria, a bad fungus, a bad virus. And then remember, the only reason we're alive is because our body knows how to do all these things on its own. Just as we get older, it can't do it as well. And these adaptogens literally give the body what they need to keep on functioning and protect itself. The fact that it protects is proof, right? I take a plant and it protects my brain.
Yeah.
It protects my myelin sheath. It regrows it. That's fucking incredible.
I don't know. I mean, for years we thought that nerves didn't regenerate. Now we know better. Your science is always advancing. We're always learning. And if you're committing to, life in science, in biology, in, healthcare, whatever, you're committing to being a lifelong student, right? If you're an educator, you are also a student forever. The day that you stop being a student and you stop learning and you stop having an open mind is the day you better stop educating people, because you get stuck and then you can't progress. You can't move forward. You can't see the future and all of the amazing things that we're yet to discover. So things like this, studies like yours, make me so excited for the future, because it opens so many more doors. It almost, what I'm picturing right now? I'm gonna age myself, but when I was a little kid, Monsters Inc. came out. And there's this scene in Monsters Inc. where they're like trying to find Boo's door. And so they're like on the assembly line, they keep opening all the doors, and each door leads to like a different like person's room. I'm just like picturing that, but with really cool research studies where we prove that nature's medicine is the only medicine we need.
I wish. I think what's going to happen is that it's just like, well, look, what's the big brand that just released their first fresh food? Royal Canin, was it? Who just did it?
Whatever. On 1 second, I have to go vomit. Let me just...
Right. That's what's going to happen. They're already, it's like 5 years now, Tara, that, was it Mars bought its first CBD company. They're trying to figure out how to gain traction. They're watching, they're learning, and then they'll come in and they'll control it somehow. And you never will get that pure medicine, because they only care about how much money it's going to make. And it doesn't matter whether it really works or not.
You're right about that. But, I do have hope that in the end, sometimes what happens, and I hate that it happens this way, but sometimes you have to get duped before you can learn and grow, right? And so I've been there before, where I thought that I was buying a good supplement, or I thought that I was working with an educated individual, and it turned out that I had to kind of kind of be taken for a ride and not see the results that I wanted before I realized, oh, there's some standards I should
But
be looking for here.
did you reflect? Like, did you look back and go, but I was questioning everything still. Do you know what I'm
And
saying? Like,
that's how you figure it out, right? Is because if you don't ask the questions and you're content to just be spoon-fed information, right? Just accept what everyone tells you as like the word of law, then you're right. You'll just get crapped forever. But it's the people who question and go, well, this doesn't seem quite right, or well, I paid a lot of money for this and I'm not seeing any improvements, or God forbid, I paid a lot of money for this and my animal's getting worse. That's when you
or
really got
it's
to
just
step
like
back and go, what the
it's just
fuck?
like our veterinarians, right? They get out of school and they still can't help an animal get better because they weren't taught that. You
Yeah,
know, they weren't taught how to do that. They were taught how
yeah,
to use pharmaceutical drugs and put things back together in anatomy and physiology, thank goodness. And yes,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
goodness for our veterinarians, and thank goodness for veterinarians who get out of school and continue to go, wait a minute, I didn't learn anything about diet and
Right,
nutrition. I didn't learn anything about herbal medicine. Let me go out and continue. And that's why I love to celebrate our holistics,
right.
because it
Yeah,
does make a difference. They're not
yeah.
taught everything. And it's silly that I'm a pet parent. I'm a pet parent who kept asking questions,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been duped by several people. I used to work for that powdered mushroom. I was a practitioner of theirs,
Yeah,
so I used to sell their mushroom powdered extracts because I believed what they were saying and that they were the
yeah.
experts. And you can know everything about mushrooms. Paul Stamets is a perfect example. You can know everything about mushrooms, but it doesn't mean you know how to extract the mushroom and make a medicine
Mm-hmm.
out of it. That's two different people. You can
Right,
love them, you can look at them, you can eat them, you can know which ones do what, but it doesn't mean you know how to make a medicine.
right.
And that's what's so interesting to me is like when you're looking at all these supplements on the market, who's behind them?
Yeah,
And when they say veterinarian formulated, I'm like, and what the hell does that veterinarian know about formulating a natural product? They weren't
yeah.
taught anything about that, so why would I trust that?
No, no, they were
Because
not.
it's
You don't get taught that
greenwashing.
in
They're just,
school, right? It's a representative comes to you, right? Because that's what happens to us. So, once you graduate from medical school, nursing school, NP school, whatever school, right? And you're out in the world and you're practicing and you're practicing with your patients. The pharmaceutical drug recs come to your hospital, they come to your office, and they bring you food, and they talk to you about the newest drug on the market, and they give you samples, and they say, here, give these samples to your patients and see how they feel on them, right? It's like they lure you in. It's like the glowfish from Finding Nemo, where they follow the little light, and then all of a sudden he's there with his big giant jaws, and there's no escape. And it's true for so many of these pharmaceutical companies and these supplement companies, and I'm we're not taught those things in school. I think that I'm a good example of this. I've been working in healthcare for literally a decade, and it wasn't until 3 years ago that I ever considered anything holistic or natural for my pets, and it wasn't until
wow.
2 years ago that I discovered that functional medicine exists for people, right? So I found the holistic space for pets, which opened the door for me to functional medicine for people, and I went, how did I not know about this for so many years?
Wow.
And that was, I realized this was the path that I was meant to follow, so you can
Like,
go a
how
really
is that
long
an
time not
education?
knowing.
Yeah, they didn't even teach you about
It,
everything else that's out there.
I know it's hard. I think that in with traditional school, you get the scientific background, right? You learn about anatomy and physiology. You learn about pharmacology. You still need to know the pharmacokinetics of something, right? Because that phrase, how it works in the body, how it exerts an effect on the body, that applies whether it's a pill or an herb that you picked out of your garden, right? It's the effect that it's exerting on you. You learn about your detox pathways. You learn about how your organs work, how they interact with each other. You learn the baseline things, the scientific background that you need to be able to help keep a person in homeostasis. The problem is you have all that knowledge brewing inside of you, but then the tool that they
No
hand
tools.
you, the tool is the wrong tool. It's like if I need to unlock my car, hand me the car key, not a screwdriver, right? So I think that's the
That
biggest problem
screwdriver is
is,
gonna wreck that keyhole and
right.
damage it.
So I
And
might be
to
able to dig it
prevent
out
you,
and force the car door open and get into it, sure, but then maybe I left that car in not quite as good shape as I originally found it. So yeah, I think
it's
it, you know,
almost like they don't want you to get back to homeostasis. They don't want you to get better. Otherwise,
and in some cases, I think that's true. I think that the whole of healthcare, that's not the case. But I think in terms of certain companies, certain monopolies, the drugs that they put out and the studies that they fund, they want to make a profit, and you can't patent nature.
and when we talk about, I also like, we're always talking about these studies they put out. Well, do you know that they put out a whole bunch of studies you never see because
Yeah,
the
they don't
people
have to submit
die?
them. Yeah.
No, so they stop them. Like,
Yep.
I remember when I was
Correct.
in the picking apart the Apoquil insert, and I was
Oh,
like, wait a minute, they started it and then it just stopped, and then they started it again and then they just stopped, and I was like, what? Of course, I went to
yeah.
ChatGPT. Why did they start this research 4 times but they never finish it, and now they have this new one? And it's like, oh, because they didn't like the results, so they just keep changing so that
Right.
it still doesn't do what they say it does.
Yeah.
And that's what's, my point before is that, just the other day I was like, oh, don't give that supplement, it has these 4 additives in it, don't do this. And I'm like, but my doctor prescribed, my holistic veterinarian prescribed that. And I'm like, well, it's a big company, they've been
Yeah.
around 40 years, they have 400 practitioners, all that is great sales, but all it takes is turning and reading the ingredient panel to
Right.
determine yourself whether this is something you want to put in your dog's body or not. Because I don't care who it is, if it's the most famous veterinarian or famous, dog influencer or whatever, you have to
Yeah.
read the ingredients. Trust
Yeah.
nobody and
That's
know
right.
what you're putting in your dog,
Yeah.
because it's we have to stop trusting. We keep thinking
Always
that
ask
people
questions. Yeah.
always ask
Yeah.
those
Always
questions.
ask
Always
questions. Yeah.
read. If I say get a certificate of analysis, if you're going to get a natural product and pay the price for a natural product, get that certificate of
Yeah.
analysis. And I know people aren't. They're going to fall for it.
Yeah.
I know they're not, because I end up on a phone call or an email from them and I'll go, send me the COA.
Yeah.
There is no
It
COA.
doesn't
So then
exist.
why are
Yeah.
you giving your pet that product? And I don't expect everyone to be perfect, but that's a big indication whether that company is keeping things clean, pure, and
Yeah.
natural. And you can't find that. They got something to hide.
Exactly. Yep. If the transparency isn't there, then walk away. And that's why I
Right.
appreciate your products and your company. And I take these, my dogs get these, my cats get these. I try and convince
Okay.
my husband to get these. Sometimes I sneak a little bit into his coffee, but but this is a staple in our house, and it's something that's never going to be going away. You're a pioneer,
Yeah.
you're an educator, you're an advocate, and that's the products speak for themselves. So before we wrap up this episode, I want to just clarify in terms of the senior dog study. So you talked to me about using the Clarity. You talked to me about how you tracked to see what their movements were, the survey that the pet parents are going to take, and their testimonials. Two clarification questions that I wanted to ask. One was Clarity the only intervention? This was the only thing that they got as a part of the study? The
Yes.
only variable.
And
Okay.
yeah. And we did. I think we had 2 dogs that did not do better, but it was because they were so advanced and had multiple disease or ailments. But I want to say it's 82% showed massive improvement.
It's
And what's
amazing.
great now is now we got Carter interviewing each of them. We literally tracked daily activity. So pet parent tracked, what they saw. Oh my gosh, more movement, more happy and wanting to do things during the day, sleeping through the night, not getting up at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So it's not been oh, I'm not really sure I saw anything. No, it's big, dramatic. And that's exactly what I saw over and over and over again. Because we can get our dogs to 17, 18, 19, 20, and they can literally not suffer from anything. You've met Maza and Jolene. People can't believe they're 14 years old. I'm like,
Yeah.
they are. And they sleep a lot during the day. But when we go out or go on a hike or a walk or whatever, you would never know in a million years these dogs were, well, considering I just looked up a dog aging, they're considered geriatric.
Geriatric, yeah. Not even senior anymore. Geriatric.
And ask me how many pharmaceuticals they take.
0.
Oh, I want to keep myself healthy. It's like, I want to keep myself out of a hospital. I want to keep my dog out of a hospital, because that's where you're going to get something that's going to send everything sideways, and you're going to have to like bring yourself back to homeostasis.
Yeah, don't come see me. Don't come see me there. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you. My goal is to keep you as far away from there as possible.
Yeah, if I met you in that circumstance, I'd be like, what are you doing here?
No. Trying to escape. That's what I'm doing there. I'm escaping, Angie.
Good.
It's coming for me soon. I know, soon. Okay, nutrition. You know I love nutrition. I'm all about the nutrition. This is what catapulted me into this space. Now, when it comes to doing a study, unless you're in a laboratory, a sterile setting, you cannot control every single aspect of the study and have it be identical for every participant in the study, which is why I asked about the clarity being like the only newly introduced variable. I'm curious about nutrition, and I think I probably know my answer. All of the dogs in the study were probably all eating different forms of food, right? I would assume some were on fresh, some were on kibble, some got toppers. Okay, I figured that was the case. And personally, I find that to make the results even more powerful, because it's one thing if you took a study of, I don't know, I'm going to come up with an arbitrary number, 50 dogs, and all of them were eating raw food, or all of them were eating gently cooked food, and you introduced this. That you might say like, oh, well, you know, these dogs were already in a position to do better because they have optimized nutrition, right? But to be able to take animals that are eating, unfortunately, less desirable forms of food, right? Ultra processed food, which is maybe not quite as bioavailable, higher in sugar, which is not good for the brain, and to still be able to see these kinds of amazing benefits with the dogs that are eating that. Imagine how much better you could do if you are giving some clarity to your dog with canine cognitive disorder and you introduce fresh food into their diet. It's never too late. They're never too old.
I'll bet you anything, Kara, that the dogs that had the most tremendous change were probably also being supported by a diet. So that'll probably be the next step, is to go, why did these two dogs that are about the same size, breed, age, why did this one do so much better? And I bet it'll be the diet. So that's what 100%. I also love, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what would happen at my rescue. I know I was getting dogs that had been fed kibble their whole life, that were on multiple prescription meds, shampoos, you name it. Yeah. And I was able to detoxify them, wean them off of everything, switch everything over, and extend life with cancer, with disease. So it is possible. Like, if someone's listening right now and they're like, wait, what? What about diet? I'm supposed to change something? It's not too late. The body is an incredible thing, especially when you start supporting it and giving it what it needs. It does some crazy things. I'm doing a 30-day parasite cleanse. It is amazing what the body does when you support it.
Now I understand our conversation from before we started filming. Okay, that's the insider notes. You can't get that. Sorry.
Exactly. That's like the platinum membership. If you want to hear our what we talked about before we came on.
Oh my god. Oh, Angie.
Let's just say Kara and I talk poop with each other.
Yeah, we're pretty open in our discussions. Oh, this was amazing. I'm so excited to see you put the results of the research out there and look at it and continue learning and growing from it. So Thank you so much for coming on to tell us about this and educate us about this, and for continuing to be, you know, an educator and a pioneer and a pet advocate. We really appreciate you.
Thanks. I always love talking to you. It's like I'm talking to the other side who's been like, oh, here's the answer. And I appreciate your honesty. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening. Please remember that you, yes, you, are the driving force that helps keep small businesses and platforms like mine running. So if you liked what you heard, please like, share, and most importantly, rate this podcast. It's the only way we can reach more people and spread the word about natural health. None of the conditions discussed or recommendations given are meant to replace the advice of your health provider. So if you have concerns about yourself or your pets, please confer with a human or animal health practitioner. Have a super fantastic day, and I'll see you next week.